All right, chapter 11 of Chicken Boy. The sun got low in the sky, and I decided to head home on my bike. Saturday night, so who knew what I could round up for dinner? Summer'd worked the lunch shift at O'Brien's, the restaurant where she waitressed, so maybe she'd brought something home in one of them clear plastic boxes. Leftover hamburgers from the lunch rush, chicken fried steak and fries, something like that. When I got home, my brother Shane was sitting in front of the TV watching an NC State football game. He grunted, "Hey," to me when I walked through the front door. "Summer get home from work yet?" I asked him, getting hungrier and hungrier the more I thought about the might-could-be chicken fried steak in the fridge. "Nah," Shane said, not taking his eyes off the screen. "She called to say she was working a double shift. If some guy named Ray calls, she says to be sure to tell him that." There wasn't a crumb of something to eat in the kitchen. "You got money for a pizza?" I yelled to Shane, even though I could have told you the answer without waiting to hear it. Shane had a part-time job over at Home Depot, but his pockets must have had holes in them because he was always flat broke. "Nope, I ain't got a dime," Shane called from the living room. "Becca's coming by later to take me to Mickey D's." I turned full around in the kitchen, halfway wanting to cry from being hungry and from the mess of it all. You ought to be able to come into your kitchen and just grab yourself a bite to eat the way we could at Henry's. You could walk into Henry's house and the dishes were clean and in the cupboard. They had a pantry where you could find 3 kinds of bread and 5 different brands of crackers, cookies, at least 2 kinds. And if you couldn't find what you wanted, you know what you did? You called upstairs to Henry's mom and she'd come help find out what you were looking for or the next best thing to it. I picked up a dish from the counter. I was thinking about smashing it just because nothing in my house was the way it should be. Instead, I did something that you'd never believe. I started washing it. I didn't even know how to wash a dish. It wasn't like anyone around my house had been given lessons. I grabbed the dried up old sponge that had been sitting on the windowsill and held it under the faucet until it fattened up with water. Then I started scrubbing it across the plate. I got the crud off of the plate, but when I held it up to the light, it still didn't look all that clean. "You gotta use soap," Shane said from the doorway, "and hot water, too." "You an expert or something?" I gave the plate another scrub. "I sorta am now," he said, grinning. "Becca makes me do dishes all the time when I stay over there." My brother Shane was 6 foot 4 inches tall, with shoulders the size of a minivan. It about cracked me up imagining him in an apron in front of a sink, little bubbles dancing around his head. Granny always saying that Shane had rocks for brains. Maybe it was soap bubbles up there instead. "What you doing them dishes for, anyway?" Shane asked. "Summer'll do 'em tomorrow, probably, if she ain't working." I figured if maybe I washed a dish, then some food might magically appear on it. Looks like magic is the only thing that's going to get me fed tonight. Shane came over to the sink and twisted the faucet to the hot side. "Give me that sponge. The way you're doing it, you'll end up with magic dog food on your plate. Find a dish towel to dry. You know how to dry a plate? It's sort of like drying your backside after you take a shower." I had to go get a towel from under the bathroom sink. Shane handed me a wet plate when I got back and said, "I bet Becca will buy you a hamburger from McDonald's. Pitiful, starving children make her cry." I rubbed the towel around the plate. I dried 5 more the same way before we heard Becca's horn blasting out front. I looked around the kitchen. 5 dishes didn't make a dent in that mess, son. Made me mad I'd even tried to make things better, when it would take a hurricane to sweep it all away so you could start over from the beginning. "You coming?" Shane called, heading out the front door. I didn't answer. I was thinking about Henry. How him and Harrison were probably sitting down to eat at that very second. Their mom and dad putting food on the table, everybody smiling, music playing in the background, not the TV. They'd probably have some interesting conversation about what big family projects they were going to do next. "Boy Scout," I snorted, but my heart wasn't really in it. "What'd you say?" Shane yelled. But I was too busy hustling into my jacket to reply. I left through the back door, picked up my bike off the driveway, and pedaled as hard as I knew how back to Granny's. I was hitting rocks in the road on purpose, so the outside of me would feel the same as the inside, all sharp-edged and dangerous. "Calm down there, son," Granny said when I slammed into the kitchen. "Get yourself something to eat. All I got is hot dogs, but they're warm in the pot and you're welcome to them." I threw my jacket on the pile of newspapers. "I think it's time I came and lived with you," I announced. Didn't even know it was true until I said it, and then I realized that's what I'd been wanting for so long. "You got the room, and I need me a place to stay." Granny plucked a hot dog out of the pot with her fingers, let the water drip off for 2 seconds, and dropped it into a bun. "You got a place to stay over where you live. What you want to set up camp with an old woman for?" "Better than living at that dump. Can't get a decent meal there to save your life, and nobody's ever home. You could starve to death there, and they wouldn't find your body for days. I'd be a lot better off over here." "I'd hate for you to starve to death, now that's true," Granny said. She handed me the hot dog on a paper towel, then opened the refrigerator and pulled out a bottle of ketchup. "But I'm too set in my ways, son, and I snore like a freight train, so I'm told. I think we got us a good arrangement like it is, me driving you to school again. You're already here half the day. I need the other half to myself. I've been through 2 husbands and Lord knows how many boyfriends. I need some peace now and then." She handed me the bottle of ketchup. "You're coming to me in my worn-out days. 10 years ago I might have done it, but not now." Once, when I was around 9, I got beamed in the head with a baseball. You know what that's like, getting hit in the head? It takes your brain a few seconds to figure out what just happened, because that kind of pain is the last thing in the world it expects. Same way when Granny said she didn't want me to live with her. I sat there a minute with my mouth half stuffed with hot dog, words swirling around between my ears, all scrambled up into nonsense. And then the words sank in, and so did the hurt, going deep into places I didn't even know could hurt just from somebody saying they didn't want you. "It doesn't matter," I mumbled, squishing the tail end of my hot dog bun into a little ball. "I'm fine where I am." I tried hard to sound like that was true, but if it was so true, why'd I want to curl up under the table and bawl my eyes out? Granny passed behind my chair and gave me a squeeze on the back of my neck, closest thing she had to a hug. "I'm no picnic, son," she said, like it was supposed to make me feel better. "But you're all I got," I thought, and walked over to the stove for something else to eat.